Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 81, following back-to-back race victories by Theo Pourchaire, doing with not the same type of results. And he had 3 mistakes 2 races ago, and then he had no mistakes in the last race, had a brilliant race, but ended up getting wiped out through no fault of his own and having the only DNF of the day. What did that do to those brand new components? Are they still in good shape? We'll find out soon enough, but let's hope that we can bounce back and have a good race weekend from both drivers as we find ourselves suddenly in the midst of the Constructors' Championship battle and the Drivers' Championship battle, as Pourchaire, who had, after the last race, surprised us and jumped to second in the standings following back-to-back race wins, finds himself leading the Drivers' Championship as of right now. We are down to 10 races to go, and the Hungaroring is absolutely a go-kart track, which means we are very well suited to this track with our cornering capabilities and should take a 1-2. I mean, this, if there's any track other than Monaco of the current car, the second most likely car to get a 1-2 at is got to be Hungary, as this is very, very much a cornering track. If last year was any indication, we should come out pretty well. Albon won the race a year ago, and we only claimed, 2 or 3 wins last year. Pourchaire finished 5th and was only 3 seconds away from coming away with the win. And this was one and only times in the history of where we actually ended up with a comfortable victory. I mean, Albon was 12 seconds ahead of Sainz, and Pourchaire really close to those 3 guys ahead of him, closing up on him, but Vettel was almost 10 seconds back. So we had a healthy gap behind. Only one Red Bull anywhere near the front, but McLaren and Ferrari were up there as well. So the main competitors, they were all there or thereabouts. They were around. We had a very good day on that one. Let's see if we can replicate that this year.
The Hungaroring is abuzz with excitement as Formula One returns to Hungary for another round. We first came here in 1986 after construction on this purpose-built motorsport facility was completed. The Hungaroring is one challenging succession of corners and turns. With few straights, it's affectionately known as the go-kart circuit. Drivers will have to find a proper rhythm to make the most of the layout, and for cars, low-speed downforce will be paramount. We're about halfway through the season now, and there's still plenty of time for everything to change. All eyes are on the teams and how they tackle the rest of the year.
Here's the fate of Douin's car following the last race. The engine takes 7% wear from the participation in the race. It seems like it might have taken a little bit of a jolt, because I would think it would still be at about 95, 96, just based on the fact that he ran less than half a race and nothing else on it, and 7% is a bit high. But yeah, we're talking about just a little jolt, just maybe a 3% drop. The ERS seems unaffected. I'd say 96% is about right, but maybe they count that as one full race and didn't really calculate the fact that he only finished 20 laps. I don't know. But the gearbox clearly did take some damage. Not destroyed, but took damage, down to 68% from brand new with only 20 laps on it. That definitely took a hit, but at least it wasn't destroyed, because we took a big penalty to be making our way through the grid for that. We would have been at the front had we not been there. I mean, he would have been competing in the front 3 positions and not have been caught up in that crash had we not taken the penalty. But we would have been taking the penalty this race weekend, because it had to happen that weekend or the next weekend. At least we don't have to face another penalty to get new components. It does suck that the gearbox took an extra 30% hit on it. Guaranteed we're going to end up having to take another gearbox before the end of the season. We've got 9 races to go. There is no way, 10 races to go, there's no way that the current set of gearboxes are going to make it to the end. I think the ERS probably can make it through the final 10 races. Engines, we might need one more. We might need 2 gearboxes to get the rest of the way for Doohan now. And of course, Pourchaire also himself has been wiped out in one of the races this year where he had a brand new set and it was destroyed completely. So he is going to be facing additional penalties as well. The one time he took penalties will not be enough. Tail end of Q1 here. We've made a single run. We're going to keep it at that single run. And Red Bull, well, they're the quickest. We are definitely the second quickest team out here. And looks like we should have a Row 2 lockout for the race itself. We'll drop a little bit here, but just barely at all. 2 spots overall for Doohan, 1 spot for Pourchaire. And both of the Red Bulls are going to carry penalties, which means actually that should put us on the front row. Now, I've been trying something the last couple races. It's making a massive difference on a personal level. Now, I've been bypassing FP1 this season for the first time. I had never bypassed more than just FP1 though. Last race, I tried out bypassing the second free practice session as well. I only got 2 runs to get the setup right as a result. Setup going in last race was in the 70% range, so I decently got both cars into the 90 percentile. This race, after simulating 2 free practice sessions, the car was in the 50 percentile for both of them. Was not good. Was not a good look at all. Pourchaire though, from the information I had, I guessed correctly, and in one attempt got to 95%, said I'm not messing with this anymore, 95% is good, took it, finished his track acclimatization, and then headed back to the garage. Doohan, we only made it to about 75% on second attempt. It didn't go the right direction, the adjustments we made from the first one. So we had to go in for a third adjustment 5 minutes before the end of the session, which meant we had no idea what we actually got out of it. And the corrections I made clearly went both ways. We gained more than we lost, but we lost some as well. So we only got them up to 84%. So this is the first time where we're going to see a significant drop off in terms of what sort of bonuses the driver is carrying. The only good thing about this is it's a great opportunity for us to find out as we do get a clean run in here for Q2, nobody in our way. What's the difference between the two?
Okay, there's a big question.
There was about a 1/10.5, I believe, between the two of them in their runs in Q1. And you can see there is almost exactly 0.2 of a second between them here. So 10%. Now, Pourchaire has the tiniest pace advantage over Doohan on a regular basis. But it's usually something along the lines of like 0.03, which means we had just over a 1/10 in the first run, and we have just over a 1/10.5 in this second run, separating the two. And I'm wondering if that's not the car, the difference in how close we are to having that locked down. Pourchaire, by the way, should have the 15 out of 15 driver bonus. Doohan, you would imagine, should be sitting on 14. First and third so far with only 5 cars having run their lap, and we did this on a used set. So we'll be ready to go. Definitely behind the Red Bulls, but seemingly clear of everybody else. Perez, he'll be bettering his time. And we're looking at only a few tenths of a second. That, I think, is the danger zone. Doohan, at the very least, has to go, but it's probably safe to send both of them out for that final run, just to make sure we get into Q3, especially with the penalties to the front too. We want to make sure we actually make it to the front row and not get knocked out in Q2 for a needless mistake of saving some tires. So that puts us P3 and P6. For our early Q3 run, we've got clean air, nobody in the way, and it's, again, a 1/10.5 separating the two. Verstappen is still half a second ahead of us. For now, though, we are ahead of the Ferraris, and those seem to be the mark. Leclerc splitting the pair. Russell also getting in there. Wow. Okay, but we do have the fresh set. Everybody else was on their fresh set for that run. And as we start our final flying lap, and Pourchaire with the lockup. Pourchaire starts the lap slow. So Pourchaire with the big mistake there, locking up right at the end of the lap. I'm not sure if he's going to have recovered. We'll see what his first sector time is, but Pourchaire with a big mistake. Meanwhile, back with Doohan. Doohan has more work to do to get forward. We're half a second off the pace of the Red Bull. They are very quick. Of course, they've got brand new components for everything. That's contributing to that pace, and they are very, very quick in low speed corners. Doohan is green in sector 1. Pourchaire is yellow, so he was off the pace. How far off, I'm not entirely sure at this point, but I do worry that it's going to be far enough off the pace that he is not going to improve his time. Therefore, he is at risk from behind, but Leclerc already crosses the line and does not get ahead of us, so it's really only Russell that is a threat. And then Doohan trying to go forward, but Doohan is yellow in sector 2, so he does not put in the necessary time through that sector to show much improvement. But Norris goes up to P4, so Doohan really needs a good third sector here to at least move up a little bit. Otherwise, he's going to be starting well behind, and he only improves his time by a small bit, and that's not enough. Pourchaire will hang on to P3 though, as nobody catches him. Norris matched him, but because Pourchaire did it first, he will start seemingly from pole position without really properly earning it. He very much bottled his final run and really only got P3. He'll be lucky, very lucky to be starting on pole. But Doohan, really disappointing time, because he easily could have been at least P5 and just could not put in the time necessary. Tsunoda, the only other driver with a penalty. Hopefully the Red Bulls take enough penalties here to knock them to the back of the grid and potentially ruin their day. The Hungaroring is not the easiest place to overtake, as you don't have the lengthy straights, and the one DRS zone that you have is coming off of a place that's hard to follow closely. It means it's short enough. It does make it a bit challenging to do overtakes here. Pourchaire starting up front is going to be in a great position, but Doohan, assuming he moves up 2 spots starting from P5, that's really underwhelming. I mean, that's really underwhelming from what he could or should have, and we clearly don't have a significant pace advantage. It's very, very minor. I mean, Pourchaire, of course, made the mistake on that final run, so maybe he would have been quicker. That was his best run, was the one on the U set. You can see he was actually quicker in Q2. So let's assume that he is 1 to 2 tenths faster. Can we drive away from Norris early on? Can we push in the first couple of laps and get him out of DRS range before DRS is enabled? Does he have that kind of pace to do that in the early race, and then just drive at his own pace while Doohan slowly makes his way through those guys and gets up into that next best position? And then hopefully Pourchaire cruises to a comfortable 30-second victory. Well, that would be nice, but I'm not sure that is actually what's going to end up happening. I'm just hoping for it.
Welcome to race day. And before we get down to it, last-minute checks are being made.
Seeing how they did in qualifying, Williams are going to be the team to watch here. They'll be starting strong at the top of the grid and will have many opportunities to steer the race in their favor. The work Red Bull did during qualifying was nothing short of spectacular. Now let's see if they can repeat that for today's race. The weather is very overcast here, and teams are staring at the sky watching for the first sign of rain. Strategies might have to be quite flexible going into today's race.
And we're 70 laps away then from the conclusion of this Hungarian Grand Prix, and each and every one of them is sure to be thrilling.
We're going to mix strategies. For one thing, we've got a car that's only starting from 5th, where we've got one car starting on pole, while not necessarily being the fastest, but having enough of an edge over other cars besides the Red Bull. We're going to try something. In theory, a 2-stopper with keeping your tires relatively fresh is going to be the fastest way to go. But dropping below that threshold, you're going to lose enough of a pace that a 1-stopper is actually a little bit slower, 6-7 seconds slower. But pit stops become really important on how that's all going to work out. So the 2-stopper, while it theoretically can be faster, you have to make it work. You have to be aggressive to make it work. So we're going to try with Pourchaire to escape from the field in the opening laps, 17 laps on the softs. It's going to be paramount that he is able to escape DRS of the chasers who are not on the softs. If he can succeed in doing so, Doohan, I'm hoping to get him up into, maybe 2nd or 3rd and help break that toe. Let Pourchaire get out there on his own and push. He'll then go hards to mediums the rest of the way, but he's going to lose ground with that extra pit stop, but should have enough of a pace advantage elsewhere to make his way through the field as he needs to. We'll see if this works out. Meanwhile, we're going to stretch, make the one-stopper work, go long, and do the more traditional route with him. We'll see which one is the better strategy as we get on with the race, but here we are, two mixing strategies, trying to play for what I hope to be a 1-2 or at least 2 cars on the podium.
Drivers have now taken position on the grid, and it's looking like a cloudy day. Looking now at the Williams. They're starting today at the head of the pack, but will they be able to stay there? And looking at the second Williams car. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. The teams are ready to go. And here we go with the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
And we are racing. Both cars set, ready to go. Let's see what kind of start we can get. Pourchaire looks like he might be holding on to P1. Mediums behind him. Bottas, Verstappen, Magnussen, Zhou all going for softs, and guys in the back as well. So we're not the only ones, but we're the only ones in the top 6 that are going for it. So Pourchaire really does need to get out there on his own, and do it already up to P3 and challenging Norris right off the bat. Oh man, that is ideal. That is ideal for us because we know we can open that 1 second gap. 0.947. I'm okay with getting out of DRS range. We need Pourchaire with the 2-stopper to be able to pull away. So it is the idea. It is what we are aiming for. So we'll ride with Do It as he is being challenged from behind by Norris. But what a start. What a start to this race. This is perfect scenario. I mean, it took us all of 1 lap to get Do It from 5th up to 2nd. It took us all of 1 lap for Pourchaire to open beyond DRS range of the competitors. And as DRS is enabled, he's already 2 seconds up the road, driving off. Now he's got to keep going. This cannot be, he's 2 seconds and hold a 2 second gap. No, he very much needs to see that gap continue to grow. So keeping an eye on lap times. I think Pourchaire had a slow start to this lap, but what does he end up doing compared to doing 4/10 over the next 10 laps or so is going to add up to 4 seconds. We are seeing a gap open up with Bottas in 7th. So a second train is forming back there.
Fastest lap.
Pourchaire, fastest lap out there. Verstappen is on the same strategy as Pourchaire, so he is making his way through the field. He's the one to worry about today. Well, the 2 Red Bulls are really the ones to worry about today. But we are already recovering some fuel. I don't remember how much. I'm trying to remember what we started at. Was it 1.6? But we went to like 1.8, 1.9 pushing. Have they already recovered 4/10 in just 6 laps? And we may extend the first stint by like a lap if our pace is still good, but we won't extend long. Again, half a second gained on that following lap. So gaining half a second per lap with just under 10 laps left to go on the stint means we should gain another 5 seconds, and the interval is already 5. So if we're 10 seconds out front by the time we pit, obviously we are not going to be still in front of everybody, but those 10 seconds are going to really, really come in handy, and that already covers off a pretty good gap. Bottas over 3 seconds down, definitely fallen back. Albon is 2 seconds down with a third train further back down the grid. And with Verstappen still pulling this group along, still getting that benefit. He's pulled back half a second now. So this lap, this group pulled back half a second. Our strategy at the moment is not going quite how we want it to be. This group is getting further back. They lost half a second, but that means they lost half a second to this group, which gained half a second on Pourchaire. So really their gap to Pourchaire is about the same. And yes, we are covering off fuel quite quick. Oh no, Pourchaire spun. And there's damage.
We can take a look now. Now we see the Williams here.
Out there totally on his own, not pushing. Oh, that's
They crashed out.
bad damage. That is bad damage. He's got a puncture. Pourchaire holding up traffic at the back end of the field, at least. It's ninth. That's signs that he's holding up, so that really messes with their race. All right, on pit road, 8-second stop. Still have one more stop to do in the race, and he is half a lap down. So now his prospects in this race are terrible. I mean, he's 41 seconds behind from a 5-second lead. Over 1:10 lost. Now, of course, 20 seconds of that is the pit stop. We were expecting the pit stop, but it's an additional 45 seconds
And a new
that
position
he has
just gained by
lost.
Williams.
Okay, so Doohan gets around Norris, so he's back up to P2, and now we do want to get that bonus going of following Verstappen and staying within 1 second and hoping that, you know, the other guys fall off. But front five are starting to run away with this, where Pourchaire, these guys just cannot stop making mistakes. A couple episodes back, there was a comment off the top of my head. I cannot recall who made it, so I'm sorry that I can't call you out by name here, but there was a comment that mentioned how I was pointing out that Hamilton spins way more often, way more often than real life. Verstappen spins more often than real life. As we go through, looks like we might not hold on to it. No, we got DRS. It's a double DRS zone there, and getting up on that curb should see you spinning out, but we don't. But that puts us through into the race lead, and
Williams.
look how close we are. There was a mistake, and Pourchaire's an extra 3 seconds down. Did that just happen, or is he just off the pace because of damage? Suspension has major damage. Chassis has minor damage. We might have to retire the car. We may have to retire the car if his pace is that bad. He has zero chance of recovering for any kind of points today. Save the car the extra wear and tear. What is it again? Nothing on the powertrain at least, but chassis and suspension are both going to have to be replaced. And there's no fixing those. There's no fixing his lack of pace. You can't just make an extra pit stop and, you know, throw on new suspension. This is looking like terminal. First round of pit stops, though, those on the softs. That means Verstappen should pit soon. And that means we have the chance to get away from Norris. I'm going to start pushing here and hope that when Norris pits, he'll be more than a second behind. When Verstappen pits, Norris will be more than a second behind. That's what I'm targeting here. Verstappen heads off into the pits right now. 1.4 ahead. He gets DRS, though. The trigger point, Verstappen was ahead of him, so he gets DRS this time. It closes him down. He gains 0.8 of a second with that DRS. 0.8. Well, he gained 0.2 on us, so I'm assuming he had it. But let's try to get out beyond that 1 second window. We are there now. We can continue on for this lap and get him out of DRS range. I mean, that could be a pivotal part to this race. So Verstappen comes back out in 8th position, just ahead of Perez, just ahead of that group. Not in a bad spot. Pourchaire would have been up here already on the back end of Gasly and Sainz and trying to make his way through that next group. The fastest lap for Doohan, and 2 seconds ahead. 122. One car had put in a 122 that lap. A lot of 121s, a lot of 120s. I really do think it's going to be He's already a lap down. We're gonna go ahead and retire Pourchaire. Right, at this point, Verstappen has got to be the favorite, but let's hope that he can get caught up in traffic. Right now, he's got clean air. He's 4.5 seconds behind Gasly. He's got plenty of time to make up some ground on him there. But let's hope that once he does make his way through, he will get held up for a while and won't make the gains, because we know that he has 2 stops to make, where Doohan only has a single stop to make. But Doohan's going to be off the pace here relatively soon, if not starting now, because he's already at 58%. He's dropped below that 60% threshold. He's going to start slowing down. Good news, of course, is that we were able to escape the clutches of Norris, the DRS range, and keeping an eye on that one. We might have to push a little bit again here at some stage to keep that gap. It's not a big gap, but a gap is a gap, and you'll take every gap you can get. Not sucking them around the track and making them go faster. That's not helpful for us. We apparently don't have much of a pace advantage, though, because whatever we pulled out, you can see, is fairly stable right now. So I think we're pretty much on the same pace as Norris, as Russell, as Leclerc. Sainz, a further 10 seconds back, though, so that's good news. It's really the front 4 and then whatever Verstappen ends up doing, which he has already closed 3 seconds on Gasly quite quickly. And he'll have a definite pace advantage when he goes on in the mediums, because by that point we'll be on the hards and have been on them for a little while. Will be faster. He will come charging up, and I have a feeling he is still the race favorite. He has a very good chance of winning the race today, but at 1.3, and as quick as we recover fuel, I think I want to turn the engine up and not let him get back in DRS range. Meanwhile, gap to Sainz is out to 12 seconds behind him. We're entering that pit window. We're entering that pit window. Let's go aggressive.
Push hard. Happy to push hard.
Verstappen has gotten around Sainz, so he caught Ocon and Sainz and got around them, and Gasly, actually, for that matter. So he's driven away from those 3 already, which means they did not hold him up, at all. He's only 11.7 down on Doohan now. That's it. That's it. He has already covered off most of what he needs to cover off. Hence the belief that he's a pretty heavy favorite. Optimal pit stop, Russell and Leclerc pit right now. Do I want to go one more lap? Let's ignore that for the moment. Let it run slow. Now let's see what the lap time will be like. 120.3. And Verstappen, 119.8. So we lost half a second to him. But the others are not going to be quite his pace. A lap involving a pit stop takes about 18 extra seconds. 2.5, that's a good stop. That's our best stop of the season by far. And we come out behind Verstappen in second place. And Verstappen is quite a ways ahead. But we are done with pit stops. Done. We are donezos with the pit stops. Doesn't have to happen again. Now, if we can keep a gap on Russell, that would be ideal. Find out if we can, and then Verstappen already down to 80%. His pace is going to start to fall off. We are 1.7 ahead. We're going to push on fuel-wise long enough to get Russell out to about 2 seconds, and then we will go standard. So 11 seconds the gap to Verstappen. Our times should start to match his relatively well. 75% on his tire wear. 20% more used than ours, and yet he is still putting in faster laps. But you can see equivalent lap times are starting to show up here. Norris just went purple, green. He's really pushing.
Low fuel, so be mindful of that.
He's really pushing right now to close in. Look at that. Half a second. Half a second he gained. We lose 0.3 to Verstappen. Doohan just doesn't quite have the pace. Not to compete for the win, necessarily. and 13 behind Verstappen. I'd love to see that start to go the other direction thanks to his tire wear. But he's not going to wait for his tires to get in real bad shape. He will pit earlier than later. We're still about 10 to 14 seconds to the good over Verstappen with the extra pit stop. So if we can really minimize the advantage, it's going to give us our only shot of holding them off late in the race. 1.9 though, we are holding off Norris and Russell. And the fuel's already recovering. And it's lap 43. Nobody's lapped, right? Pourchaire was the only one who was lapped because of the damage. And then, of course, retired. All 19 cars are on the lead lap. You can see Verstappen is closing in on Latifi and last. Schumacher, Vettel, Ricciardo, Albon, Stroll, Show, not that far ahead. And then a little bit of a gap to Magnussen, Tsunoda. And we have a crash. Sector 1, crash. That is the back end of the field. Just yellow flags, it looks like.
Currently yellow at 7.
Sainz.
Let's take a closer
Hello,
look.
Mr.
Let's have
Sainz.
another look.
A lot of
Sainz
mistakes
is
from
the focus
Sainz.
here.
Same place,
That crash
same
is
crash.
terrible news for the team.
Exact same crash as Pourchaire. That's going to do the same sort of damage to him that it did to Pourchaire. He'll be right at the back of the grid. So you're going to see Sainz drop out of here. That's one Red Bull eliminated, just as there's one of us. We still have a chance in this race, but it's still say Verstappen's the favorite. Got to be the favorite, especially as he's pulling away, even though we are in much better condition tire-wise. Bottas just in the points in 8th. Perez just out in 9th. Leclerc, Ferrari, constructors leader, only 5th, and now 8th as Perez goes around. McLaren, this is good that they're off the back a little bit. Mercedes is having a much better car. And Verstappen into the pits. He is into the pits. Will take over the race lead for sure. So Ocon, Tsunoda, Bottas all pitting as well. So Bottas losing his position in the points as a result, dropping well back. Let's kind of take the leader perspective as we get out of here so it's a little clearer on where the gaps exist. Doohan now 3 seconds ahead of Norris, so we are back to pulling away. That's good. Pulling away. And then Russell just off the back of Norris. Verstappen is already just 1 second behind. What the hell? He's less than 5 seconds behind us. Is the pit delta that short here? Man, oh man. Verstappen's going to win this race. Nothing we can do about it. He's only 4 seconds back. 22 laps. He's on brand new mediums, and we're on, 74% used hards. We couldn't keep up with him when he had 74% used hards. We're not going to keep up with him on brand new mediums. He's already caught Russell. Is bad. Is bad. He's already up inside of the McLaren. He'll get the inside for the final corner here, and then down the straight, he'll also have DRS. Even though he was ahead of him, by the time you hit the DRS zone, the detection zone, he was still behind. So he easily cruises away and is just 2.5 seconds behind it already. He was 5 seconds back 2 laps ago. He had 2 cars to overtake, and he's already just 2 seconds down. We have no shot. We are not going to defend heavily. He will get by. I don't want to get crashed off the track anyway. I'll take a P2. We're not beating this guy. Not today. Remember, qualifying, half a second a lap faster. And it really shows right now. Now, Pourchaire, with the 2-stop strategy, he'd be right here with him. Right here with him. In fact, he was ahead, right? So he might actually still be... He would theoretically be in the race lead right now. Pourchaire, that was his mistake today. Nobody else. No AI to blame. Down to half a second already. Really, at this point, we are just looking at the race being with those behind us. As Verstappen, over the last 17 laps, could easily have a 12-13 second lead by that point. Won't even be close. Oh, what a big lockup for doing. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. He recovers before those guys. So as he gets overtaken, he freaks out. I'm talking about how important it is that he doesn't contest, that Verstappen's gonna just drive away. And then Doohan freaks out as he loses the lead and makes another rookie mistake. And that was totally unnecessary. Anyone with an ounce of common sense knows that he's going to drive away from you there. They got DRS behind the Haas and it closed them back up, so they are back within a second. So they got DRS once again thanks to the Haas. We have crash on track and Norris went around. It's an Alfa Romeo.
Okay, it's a safety car.
We're only going to lose 2 positions to pit. 10 laps to go with softs. We're going to recover those 2 positions, and it gives us a chance to beat Verstappen. Will anybody else pit? Cars are pitting, yes. Albon, Schumacher, both in the pits. Will anybody else pit? No. They both stay out. Verstappen stayed out. Safety car peeling off, and we are going back to racing. It looks like Verstappen already accelerated a bit, and we're going to be really quick right off the start. These guys in front of us, the next 3, are all on the hards and going long. They should be a very, very easy overtake, and we are already back to neutral on the fuel. We get up the inside of the Ferrari, and then he starts to squeeze us off, but we end up getting back on the inside anyway as he couldn't quite hit the apex, and we are already challenging Russell, so we got 1 position back. We only gave up 2 positions because Norris had actually passed us just before the safety car, and we're back around Russell, so we're already right back in the position we were in, meaning we lost absolutely nothing by taking that pit stop. And with 7 laps to go, not only are we going to easily beat Norris as we're trying to get him here on the exit, we're already up beside him as we go through the chicane, and we've got him. We've got him. We are already into P2, so we've already gained a position as a result of taking the pit stop. And now the big difference is Mr. Half second faster Verstappen. He's on somewhat used mediums as we are on brand new softs, and we are going to keep charging right now to get up behind him and be able to race with him. And we got to close that gap though to get back within DRS range. Just over a second behind. We are barely faster, even with all this pushing. But I think we could easily, we're 1.6 ahead of Norris now. 0.5 ahead of Norris. They cannot keep up with Verstappen's pace at all, but with the softs, with the fuel, with the battery, I can. And I think it might be just about enough of an advantage for us, as we should have DRS open now. Yes, we do.
Enabled.
And we just set the fastest lap.
It's a stonking lap.
So Verstappen on 66% used tires. That means he's going to get a couple laps here. And then for the last couple laps, he's going to be below that 60% threshold. And we're going to still be well above 60% threshold at that point. So an overtake feels pretty inevitable over the last couple of laps. And in the 50s behind us on the hards, I mean, we are just driving away from those guys. You can see a healthy gap already behind as we're already challenging. We're already challenging, but we're not going to quite get him here. But then you've got another DRS right there, and it's the same detection zone, so it's a double DRS zone with just 1 detection at the head of it. Okay, we're back to 0 on the fuel. Back to 0 on the fuel. And we have a positive delta with a few laps to go. Enough to push for an overtake on the final lap. Or I think we will have enough to push for an overtake on the final lap. But anyway, he's at 63%. He's going to start losing pace relatively soon. And we're coming up and challenging. We're getting up the inside, even without DRS, even without pushing. And we're going to have DRS again right here. That's going to give us an advantage to pull away a little bit. It's not. Oh, do it!
Here's the replay.
Ah.
Now we see the Williams.
Oh man, the win. The
Look
win
at
was
that. They've
on a
spun their
silver
car.
platter for you. He's still in second. There was such a gap to everybody else that he
keep
has
pushing,
gotten
keep pushing.
going again. He's gotten going again and is only 2.7 behind. But can he win from here with 2 laps? Ooh, I don't know about that. And we're not going to get DRS. We're not going to get DRS. So that last lap, we'd have to catch him and pass him on merit. 2.6. We only gain 1/10, 2/10.
So one more lap.
Attack. We've pulled back 7/10, 8/10 now. But we have almost 2 seconds to go and no DRS to try to catch Verstappen. Through there, we gain nothing. Gap remains the same. 1.8 now. 0.2. Now we can push.
And we think you can
1.6.
reduce lift and coast.
He gets within a second of Verstappen. I mean, he gained 1.8 seconds on that lap. 1.8 seconds faster than Verstappen on that lap. Incredible lap. But he still
That's the flag.
spun. They both spun today. They both made a key mistake. Ferrari 5 and 7, so not a good day for them. McLaren only 1 driver up in the points and behind us, so not a good day for them. Big missed opportunity, giving them 2 points, taking 2 points away from ourselves. That's a 4-point swing in the wrong direction, absolutely. And so we only gained 2 on McLaren and Ferrari. So we only gained 2 on each of them and lose 2 points to Red Bull when we easily could have, should have done better with that. But that's why this is not the season. That's why I think this season we finished second. And if we were to hire good drivers, if we were to have 2 good seasoned veteran drivers next season, we win the championship quite easily, quite comfortably, and win a whole lot of races. It is definitely a bigger, better challenge to stick with the young drivers and do what we planned all along and see it through with them. Be patient, but it could mean that next season is still not our year. I think we're close enough that we might still win it. It's just going to be a lot closer championship than it would be if we had Hamilton and, any of the guys surrounding us in the top 9 drivers today. Any one of those guys, plus Hamilton. You got a 1-2 in the constructors next year, I would think, in the drivers, that is, and win the constructors. Doohan shoots himself in the foot, gives away the win, but at least keeps a podium. In the drivers, Porsche drops to second with the DNF today, and again, self-inflicted. Doohan back up a spot into 9th and actually tied with Sainz for 8th. Red Bull, Ferrari tied at 100, and we are just 5 points back and nearly 20 ahead of McLaren now. Alpine and Mercedes coming on much stronger recently, which I'm really happy about because it's getting them in the mix up here, but they're not really in the mix, so it's taking points away, especially McLaren. McLaren seems to be on the back end of that. Mercedes right now seems to be ahead of McLaren, or just about. It's close. It's close. Race by race, it's a little bit different, isn't it? That is going to do it for this episode, though. So disappointed in how that ended, but second place is good. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.